Medical breakthroughs often happen because of clinical trials, but what exactly are they? Well, this was Wellness Wednesday, rather, is the perfect time to learn more. And who better to teach us than Dr. Kimberly Schlesinger? She is the medical director and medical oncologist at the Cancer Institute at St. Joseph Medical Center. We're also joined by Stacy Deems. She is a clinical trials participant. I am happy to have you here. So, Dr. Schlesinger, I want to start with you. Tell us, what are clinical trials? What constitutes as a trial?
That's a great question, Elsa. Clinical trials are opportunities for physicians, scientists, and patients to come together in order to understand new treatment options and the impact on outcomes. There are many different types of clinical trials out there. Some of them test new medications, some of them test new procedures, some of them even test new lifestyle approaches. And all of these are ways to further medical understanding and outcomes for patients.
And explain why clinical trials are so very important.
That's another great question. And clinical trials are crucial to making advances in medicine. All of the treatments that we use in any field of medicine today are a result of clinical trials from the past. So in order to move things forward, we need to take the opportunity to pause and compare new evolving treatments to standard of care. Only then do we know the best treatment options for patients.
Stacy, how did you get involved in the clinical trial program here?
As a patient of Dr. Schlesinger's, her and her team researched the clinical trials that would possibly benefit me and presented them to me in the office. I had the opportunity to then take a look at the research and decide for myself whether or not I wanted to participate with them. But considering the amount of research and the benefits for myself as well as future cancer patients, it was a pretty easy decision on my part to go ahead and do it.
Dr. Schlesinger, can you tell us what the process is like for people who enter a clinical trial? What should they expect exactly?
The process can be somewhat complicated at times, but it really is more like a matchmaking exercise. It usually starts off with the physician taking care of the patient, understanding the context of what they're going through, and knowing what's available out there in terms of clinical trials. It's also important for the patient to understand that different clinical trials are available at different sites. One of the advantages of being part of the University of Maryland Medical Center Cancer Network is that St. Joe's, the facility I work with, has a select number of trials, but all of the other institutions in the network, whether it's downtown at the University of Maryland Medical Center, Upper Chesapeake, BWMC, all of them have other trials that we can also tap into. That makes it easier for our patients here to go to a local site for a trial that may not be offered here at St. Joe's. But the process really starts with the physician and the patient having a discussion about options and also whether or not it's something the patient's interested in.
How can cancer patients learn more about clinical trials? That's the first part. And the second part, I'm wondering, how can they learn more about if they qualify for a specific clinical trial?
So it really depends on the particular trial and where the patient is. Some centers, for example, only have a select group of clinical trials that they are participating in on site. So other sites may have different types of trials that a patient may be eligible for, but that would require the patient go to that different center. A lot of it just depends on the particular patient's situation, what trials are available, and how best to access them. Some people are able to travel long distances to participate in a trial, perhaps in another state, and others don't have that option. So it just really comes down to the patient's particular situation and what's being studied in that field at that time.
And Stacy, what would you say to someone who is considering being involved in a clinical trial?
I would say to definitely speak with your physician. If your physician does bring something up to you, to take your time to research all the documentation, talk to the professionals, ask the questions that you need to ask, and decide whether or not it's going to fit your lifestyle and whether or not it's going to benefit you or possibly somebody else in the future. For me, it was an easier decision because one of the treatments that I am currently on actually just came out of a clinical trial study. So I have the opportunity to not only participate in a trial, but also be a beneficiary of a new medicine regimen that came out of a trial as well.
Stacy makes some excellent points. It's important to understand that clinical trials impact the full spectrum of medical care, whether it's cancer or other disease states. Clinical trials save lives. It's important to keep it in mind and to talk to your physician about what's available for you.
All right, Stacy and Dr. Schlesinger, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. And for more access to information about clinical trials at St. Joseph Medical Center, including Dr. Schlesinger's tips about talking with your doctor, you can download your free healthy guide. Just go to umstjoseph.org/WMAR. We'll be right back with more Midday Maryland right after this. Stay tuned.